As one of Hollywood's most adored screen legends, the Swedish-American actress and singer Ann-Margret dazzled audiences with her talent, energy, and magnetic charm. Despite her bubbly persona and superstar status, she fiercely guarded the details of her private life. Now, at 83, Ann-Margret is finally opening up about what many long suspected about her connection with Elvis Presley. And it all traces back to a moment that changed everything. But before diving into the lifelong rumors linking the two icons, let's rewind to the beginning. Born Ann-Margret Olsen on April 28, 1941, in the small Swedish village of Valsjöben, she came from a community rooted in farming and timber work. Her parents, Anna Regina and Carl Gustav Olsen, lived modestly. Her father immigrated to America first, returning to Sweden in 1937 to marry her mother. As World War II tensions grew and Germany invaded Norway, her father decided once again to leave for the U.S. alone. After some hesitation, her mother eventually followed, bringing young Ann-Margret with her in 1946. By 1949, she had become a naturalized American citizen. From childhood, Ann-Margret showed a spark for performing. Her parents enrolled her in the Marjorie Young School of Dance, where her natural ability amazed everyone. She picked up every move effortlessly. Her mother even hand-stitched costumes for her, especially after becoming the family's breadwinner when her husband was injured and she found work as a receptionist at a funeral parlor. Ann-Margret began appearing on shows like Don McNeil's Breakfast Club and Ted Mack's Amateur Hour. By her teenage years, she was balancing high school at New Trier High in Illinois with the stage performances. She soon joined a singing group called the Subtle Tones, which performed in Las Vegas at the Dunes Hotel and Casino, the same venue where stars like Tony Bennett and Al Hirt performed. It was there that legendary entertainer George Burns spotted her when she auditioned for his annual holiday show. Her soft shoe routine and glowing stage presence stunned him. Burns later said the audience fell in love with her even before she began singing, and when she did, they were mesmerized. With her captivating beauty, rich contralto voice, and undeniable charisma, he knew she was destined for stardom. In 1961, Ann-Margret signed with RCA Victor and released her debut single, Lost Love, followed by her first album, And Here She Is. Ann-Margret. Written in part by George Burns, the album earned her a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist. RCA even promoted her as a female Elvis, highlighting the sultry vocal qualities that echoed hits like Heartbreak Hotel. Little did anyone know that one day, the connection between Ann-Margret and the King would become one of Hollywood's most talked-about legends. Although she released more music throughout the early 60s, only Beauty and the Beard, 1964, charted. Her RCA contract ended shortly after the label itself dissolved. Still, she had made her mark, and her next chapter was already waiting. Ann-Margret shifted her focus to acting and didn't return to recording until the late 1970s, when she found new success on the dance charts with her 1979 hit Love Rush. She later recorded God Is Love, the Gospel Sessions in 2001, earning another Grammy nomination and a Dove Award nod. Two more albums followed in 2004 and 2011. And just last year, she released a full-length album, Born to Be Wild, featuring 13 tracks and collaborations with artists like Pat Boone, Pete Townsend, the Fuzztones, and the Oak Ridge Boys. Though her voice could have easily carried a full-time music career, her global fame truly exploded once she stepped onto the silver screen, and unbelievably, she won an award for her very first film. While recording at RCA Victor, Ann-Margret completed a screen test at 20th Century Fox in 1961. She stunned the studio executives and was immediately offered a 7-year contract. Her debut feature, Pocketful of Miracles, a remake of Lady for a Day, earned her the Golden Globe for New Star of the Year, which she shared with Christine Kaufman and Jane Fonda. Audiences adored her. Critics praised her, and Hollywood knew a major star had arrived. The following year, Ann-Margret starred in yet another remake, this time one that allowed her to show off her singing talent. The project was the musical State Fair, where she appeared alongside Pat Boone and Bobby Darin. Originally, Ann-Margret auditioned for the wholesome girl-next-door role of Margie. However, studio executives felt her natural allure was simply too sensual for the part. Instead, she was cast as Emily, the bold, seductive bad girl. In her memoir years later, Ann-Margret revealed that these two characters perfectly mirrored her real-life duality. Margie represented her private, modest, offstage self, while Emily embodied the electric, sensual energy she brought to the spotlight. Still, neither of these roles compared to the explosion of fame she gained after playing in Kim McAfee in the 1963 musical rom-com Bye Bye Birdie. The film's premiere at Radio City Music Hall broke the venue's record for highest-grossing first week ever. Once again, Ann-Margret took home a Golden Globe, this time for Best Actress, proving she was as gifted in acting as she was in singing and dancing. Her star continued to rise. In fact, her popularity soared so high that she was invited to perform Baby, Won't You Please Come Home at President John F. Kennedy's private birthday celebration in New York, a year after Marilyn Monroe's famous Happy Birthday performance. And if there was ever a sign that you'd officially made it, it was becoming a cartoon character. Ann-Margret was immortalized as Ann-Margret in the Flintstones. But as big as her fame already was, one particular relationship pushed her celebrity into a completely different orbit. With her Hollywood presence firmly established, it was no surprise when Ann-Margret was paired with none other than the king of rock and roll himself, Elvis Presley. The two starred as Lucky Jackson and Rusty Martin in the 1964 musical Viva Las Vegas, a film now cemented in pop culture history. Yet, behind the glowing performances were swirling rumors about what really happened between the two stars on and off the set. You know the saying, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." And both Ann-Margret and Elvis kept their lips tightly sealed. But Hollywood sure didn't. Even after Elvis's death in 1977 at just 42, talk of their relationship continued to follow Ann-Margret. Although she repeatedly described their bond as a strong friendship, fans and insiders remained convinced that their connection ran much deeper. But let's address the long-whispered truth: Ann-Margret and Elvis's on-set romance. When they filmed Viva Las Vegas, Elvis was already in a committed relationship with Priscilla Presley, whom he'd met years earlier in Germany. Even so, their undeniable chemistry was obvious. They joked and flirted constantly between takes. Elvis affectionately called her Thumper, the nickname she used whenever she phoned Graceland, while she called him simply Icy Teeters Centritas. Their shared interests and similar personalities made their bond unusually strong, and eventually, the two slipped into an affair. Priscilla learned about the rumors from newspaper headlines while alone at Graceland. In her 1994 memoir, Ann-Margret, My Story, the actress confirmed that she and Elvis had indeed shared a brief romance. However, it came to an abrupt end when Elvis suspected she had leaked stories to the tabloids claiming they were getting married. She denied it, but the damage was done. To make matters worse, Elvis was under growing pressure from both the public and his manager to finally marry Priscilla. Despite the breakup, Ann-Margret and Elvis remained close friends until his death. There were even whispers that Elvis's feelings for her never faded. One very public sign of this was the tradition he kept, sending guitar-shaped flower arrangements to Ann-Margret's dressing room for every opening night she had in Las Vegas. He never missed a single one. So when the flowers didn't arrive on opening night, August 16, 1977, Ann-Margret sensed something was terribly wrong. Her intuition proved correct. Shortly afterward, she received a phone call from Graceland. Elvis had passed away. She was among the very first to hear the heartbreaking news, long before the world knew. Elvis's devotion to her lasted until the very end, something Ann-Margret has never forgotten. Even decades later, she continues to speak of him with deep affection. In a 2002 interview with Larry King, she said, "He was so unique, so special, so talented. He was the kindest, most considerate man I have ever known. Generous, loving. He was a good man." While many fans wished the two had ended up together, others doubted their whirlwind relationship could have survived long-term. Ben Mankiewicz of Turner Classic Movies commented that their romance likely wouldn't have lasted. But he also acknowledged the genuine emotional bond they shared, rooted in similar life experiences and mutual understanding. Being a musical film, Viva Las Vegas was filled with energetic song and dance numbers. There was originally one more musical moment planned that never made it into the final cut. A YouTube video shared by Country Living went viral in 2017 after revealing a deleted scene from Viva Las Vegas. In it, Elvis Presley's character, Lucky Jackson, sits atop a piano, tenderly singing the romantic ballad, "Today, Tomorrow, and Forever." Moments later, Ann-Margret's Rusty enters, watching him with soft affection. She slowly walks toward him, and the two begin singing in harmony as a montage plays, dancing, biking, and sharing carefree moments together. The scene ends with the pair collapsing onto the floor, laughing after missing a step in their routine. Interestingly, the duet was written specifically for the movie and even appeared on the film's EP. Why it was cut from the final version remains a mystery. Some speculate that including such an intimate performance might have fueled widespread rumors about their real-life romance, something that would have been extremely scandalous at the time and potentially damaging to both stars' public images. But that's not the only reason their relationship may have been doomed, and the real explanation might surprise you. Working together on the film might have sparked feelings between them, but according to director George Sidney, there was one issue that Elvis struggled with: the attention Ann-Margret received on set. Sidney later revealed that Presley didn't like Ann-Margret getting close-up shots. Elvis wanted those moments to himself, and he didn't even want her to have musical numbers. Fortunately, the director refused to give in, insisting on shooting the film his own way. Another behind-the-scenes detail: the final scene of Viva Las Vegas was filmed using a split screen. Elvis reportedly didn't want to share the closing moment with his leading lady. As a result, Sidney shot Ann-Margret's part separately and only combined the footage during editing. Despite her deep connection to Elvis, Ann-Margret found lasting love elsewhere. She married American actor and producer Roger Smith, becoming stepmother to his 3 children. Their marriage lasted an incredible 50 years, beginning on May 8, 1967, and continuing until Smith's passing on June 4, 2017. Aside from Elvis, the only other man Ann-Margret ever dated was actor and singer Eddie Fisher. While Bye Bye Birdie and Viva Las Vegas were smash hits, Ann-Margret also experienced several box office misfires, including Kitten with a Whip, The Pleasure Seekers, Bus Riley's Back in Town, and Once a Thief. Fortunately, she bounced back with the 1965 drama The Cincinnati Kid, starring opposite Steve McQueen. By the early 1980s, Ann-Margret began transitioning into television, debuting with Middle Age Crazy. She continued with notable TV films such as I Ought to Be in Pictures, Looking to Get Out, The Return of the Soldier, and Who Will Love My Children. During her acceptance speech at the Primetime Emmy Awards, actress Barbara Stanwyck even praised Ann-Margret's performance in Who Will Love My Children, calling her a wonderful entertainer. Throughout her career, Ann-Margret has earned an impressive list of accolades: 5 Golden Globe Awards, 2 Grammy Awards, 6 Emmy Awards, a Screen Actors Guild Award, 2 Academy Award nominations. Beyond Pocketful of Miracles and State Fair, she is celebrated for roles in Carnal Knowledge, The Train Robbers, Grumpy Old Men, Any Given Sunday, The Breakup, and Going in Style. In 2022, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, awarded her an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters degree. At 82, one might assume the Swedish-American icon is enjoying quiet days at home. But Ann-Margret insists she's more active than ever. At the 25th Women's Image Awards, she revealed that one of the secrets to her youthful energy is her beloved Harley-Davidson. In an interview with People, she described how it's decorated with flowers and how she absolutely loves speed. Not the drug, she joked. Her passion for motorcycles came from her father, who owned an Indian and a BSA before meeting her mother. Her uncle also had a large bike, and at age 10 she rode on the back with him to the Norwegian border. "There's no way I could ever forget that motorcycle," she said. While many celebrities struggle under Hollywood's pressures, Ann-Margret says she never felt that same kind of burden. She has kept her bright, optimistic spirit throughout her life, crediting her parents for her positive outlook. She doesn't rely on alcohol or substances, just love. There is simply no room for negativity in her world. "You don't whine about things," she said. "You just go out and do the things you love. And I just feel blessed with the life I've been given."